Earth is a game of tableau building and engine building in which you will collect cards that represent plants and soil, and you'll be forming a tableau of up to 16 cards, 4x4, and you will be activating different effects during the game as you do so. I said up to because when somebody completes their tableau 4x4, the game is over, so you may not be able to complete yours, but somebody will. The game is competitive, but it's basically multiplayer solo. There's very little interaction, and so it's not surprising if it also comes with a solo variant, which I haven't tried. I'll leave it to you to discover it if you so desire. We have a board that goes in the middle of the table, and it has some cards that we place there, drawn from quite a variety, and these cards represent different bonuses that players can try to score during the game. The earlier you score them, the higher you place your token on those tracks there, so try to get them at that point. And then we have two other general bonuses that are placed there, and again, they come from quite a thick deck. You can expect a lot of variety there. These bonuses can be scored by anybody, and then each player also has a card of that type on their personal board representing another bonus that they can score. On the player's personal board, you will find a spot for that card, a slot for a card that gives you a special action. All actions are indicated by icons such as these ones, so you need to learn your iconese, but once you have it, it's fairly intuitive. And then we have another card with a unique type of advantage and with starting resources, and again, as before, it comes from quite a deck of cards, double-sided even, so you can choose. Very neat. And same goes for these cards here. Very neat idea here. You also have room on your personal board, if you don't mess it up like I just did, to store the tokens that hopefully you will place on those scoring tracks there, and a space to collect soil, one of the main resources in the game. Pretty much with this idea of the big circle of life, a lot of stuff that can be used as resources, something that was an objective. You buy soil to create sprouts, and then you destroy sprouts to buy something else, and so on and so forth. You put cards in the compost pile, this is the compost pile, and then you place other cards somewhere else. Spend the compost to fuel other actions, and so on and so forth. And then we have, of course, the main cards of the game. There's quite a stack. These are the main cards of the game, so you're going to have so much fun shuffling these cards. Oh, so much fun. And some of these are events, and once you play them, they go in your personal event pile. And sometimes, if they're really good, or the designer thought they will give you negative points at the end of the game, so that's the price you pay. Sometimes they don't. When you play a card, you simply do what it says. And you can play event cards at any time during the game, even when other players are taking their turn. So that's how it works. But then the two main kind of cards that we have are plants and soil. And these are the cards that will go in your 4x4 tableau next to your main board. And this is the cost, 2 and 11 in this case, in terms of soil that you have to pay to plant the card in your tableau. The first that you plant can go wherever you want, and then the other ones have to be adjacent to ones that you already played. And yes, in this game, diagonal counts as adjacent. I know it goes against my instincts too, but that's how this design works. Now you see some cards, the plants also have the circle here and these numbers. So this is where you can grow plants on top of. And the number you see in the bottom left corner, so to speak, is how many sections the plant can have, and that's how many victory points you score if you complete that section. This one can have up to 2 sections and will give you 2 victory points. The plants, well, the trunk of the plant is represented by these tokens here, and the top by these other tokens. So that can take up to 2, so 1 trunk and that. This one, can take up to 4, so this would be 3 trunks and a top. The difference between trunk and top is completely decorative, unless I guess it could also be a way as a reminder that this would be complete, as I will score you the number you see there. Otherwise, at the end of the game, your plants that are not complete will score you 1 victory point for each piece that they have in them. These cards also have a number of slots there, square slots there, at least the terrain, the plant cards do, and that is the number of sprouts they can generate, green cubes. And so there will be actions that will let me plant the sprouts. I need to place them in slots that are available. Each sprout will be a victory point at the end of the game if present on my tableau, but again, many things will allow me to consume those sprouts to generate things. For example, I can always discard 3 to generate 2 soil, and there's a reminder of that. And to help you learn Iconese, we have a nice little dictionary of Earth Iconese there. So this is pretty much a general idea. Now it's how do we get to collect resources and then we spend them to put down cards that will give us victory points. As you can see here at the bottom, there are also these color bands that indicate different kinds of actions. Didn't I tell you that on top of tableau building it is engine building? Now we'll see why. Players will alternate taking turns and being the active player, and everybody else will be the secondary player, the less cool player, whatever you want to say. But the good thing is that everybody will take a turn every turn. The active player will select one of these 4 actions, say select this one, and they will get to execute the top version, which is the best version of that action. But then everybody else will get to select, to resolve the secondary action, which is a weaker version, but it's still an action. So you never completely skip a turn. When somebody else is playing, they get the good stuff and you get some stuff. And then your turn will be to select, hey, I select this action, I'm the cool player. And then everybody else gets that version of the action. On top of that, when an action is selected, everybody gets to activate the action, so that color plus the 3 color actions on their tableau in order from left to right and top to bottom, as if you were reading lines of text. For example, suppose that we selected the light blue action. After everybody takes the main player takes the main action, everybody else takes the secondary action, then everybody gets to activate all the light blue actions on their tableau. This would be quite neat for me. I get all of those actions. I get to plant a sprout, if I want, I can remove a growth. These are the growths, remember? A growth in exchange for 2 soils. I can collect a soil, and I can collect a sprout. Somebody chooses the red action. Again, everybody resolves the secondary action. The main player resolves the main action, and then everybody gets to resolve the red actions. Plus, there are some actions that are like they have 3 colors, so almost everything activates them. Almost everything, because again, not this one will be triggered if people select the light blue, the yellow, or the red action, but not the green action, which has its own different thing. So that's the general idea. Now a closer look at what the actions actually are, depending on what you're going to do. This action of planting, this action here of planting, lets the main player plant up to 2 cards if they have enough soil to pay the cost, and then they can draw 4 cards and retain 1, discard the other ones. Everybody else gets a chance to plant a card. You still get to plant one of those cards in your tableau and draw a card. Here, main player collects 5 soils and then gets to recycle or to compost cards. That's when you place them in your compost pile, which again can be used later in exchange for resources and advantages. Collect a little less soil and also compost cards. Plant 6 sprout and collect 2 soil, or plant 2 and collect 2 soil. And draw 2 cards and grow plants twice. Remember, these are the growths. Or draw 2 cards and get 2 growths on your tableau. As you can see, the secondary actions are perfectly respectable, nothing wrong with those. But again, being the active player also gives you the advantage that you get to choose which one it is. And again, that means also that the active player will choose which actions are triggered from the cards as the game progresses. So you continue to collect cards, collect soil, plant cards, plant and consume sprouts, grow your plants and occasionally consume them to generate resources until a player has 16 cards 4x4 in their tableau. At that point, you count points from a ton of sources, which is good. It's virtually impossible to know who is gonna win until you count points. There definitely is a point salad element here, or point ecosystem, and at the end of the game, the player with the highest score wins the game. Earth is one fine puzzle, and if you like tableau building and engine building, boy, are you in for a treat. Now, the general idea is so simple, just somebody selects one of the 4 actions and everybody does that, then you activate your actions associated with that. It's such a simple idea, but the game is not as simple as this may look like. This ain't no light filler. Matter of fact, because the general engine was so simple, I played it with non-players, non-regular players, people that don't play games regularly, although they do play some, and they were fairly lost because all the decisions that you do need to make are far from trivial. You got a budget from turn to turn, you're trying to sequence your actions as best as possible. You got to decide if you want to have a super awesome killer combo that only hits when somebody selects that action. And if it becomes obvious that you have it, other people may not have an incentive to do so, or decent combos that trigger almost every time that somebody selects an action. You got a time when it's time to grow the sprouts and when it's time to destroy them. There is a time to compost and a time to use the compost. There is a time for everything. I think the cyclical idea of the nature, how nature works and everything is a resource, then becomes a product, then goes back to be a resource, and how everything changes, it's beautifully captured. But I've seen some of these non-regular players being flustered simply by the overwhelming burden of possibility, I would say. So, there is possibly a little bit of a danger now when you play it with people who play games regularly of analysis paralysis, but maybe not too much. Maybe not too much. I don't know, because you do have time to plan as the people are taking their actions, and very often a turn will be, well, I collect some soil. Even as the first player, that would be such, but then as the other players, you collect some soil. Maybe the main player does some kind of actions. If you're playing with 3-4 players, you usually have time enough to get a sense of what you want to do. And then again, if you don't mess up too bad in the early turns, you will have a decent engine of resources. So the game should speed up. Although it's not obvious, because when the red action is chosen at the beginning of the game, everybody takes the red action. When it is chosen later on, everybody is resolving 5 actions. Yes, but because of that, then you start playing and planting cards more often. And so actually, although each turn may take longer, you're still moving along nicely toward the end of the game. It can be a long game if people spend a lot of time worrying about every little detail, but I feel that really the strategy is in the aggregate. And again, you collect sort points from so many sources that there's no reason to obsess about any small little detail here or there. If you lose by 1 point, send me an email, say, Marco, I should have analysis paralysis the heck out of this one. I shouldn't have played it kind of like, go with the flow, follow the force like you play. But that's how I play it, and that's how I enjoy it. So I like the fact that it's a point salad with no way of telling the winner, or very difficult. I like the fact that unless there's an obvious engine that somebody has, there isn't really much of a player interaction. That's because your tableau is going to absorb so much of your attention that you're going to pay attention to that. I'm not going to go out of my way to do what exactly? There isn't a lot that I could do to prevent other people from doing for pursuing their objectives anyways. And if I did, then I'm not optimizing my tableau. What happens? I'm playing my solitaire game and I get stuff from other people's actions. So you selected that, cool. Your action gave me soil, and then I had this little engine that at the end of which I got 3 sprouts and some more soil. Oh, cool, you did that thing. So other people's actions give you stuff, which is a nice feel. Your actions give them stuff, which is a nice feel. But overall, it's about who can make the best out of this fairly bountiful flow of resources that constantly come in, and that's nice. So you have a nice puzzle, multiplayer solo, very little conflict, if or none at all. Beautiful images, a theme that feels pretty captured of the ecosystem. To me, there is a thematic element there, and it's just like nice gameplay, and there is a satisfaction, of course, of building your engine and seeing it grow and change every turn. So Earth, I definitely enjoyed this game. I think it's pretty impressive. I'll play it only with the regular players who can take the pressure and are not overwhelmed by the burden of choice. But overall, definitely a solid game.